But Dr. Paul, I want to ask you, the second wave began with states like Maharashtra. From Maharashtra, it came, towards the center of Delhi. We saw Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Karnataka, the wave coming in that. You're talking about COVID appropriate behavior and crowds gathering. Now, Maharashtra and Rajasthan had no elections. The elections were happening in West Bengal and Assam. But the wave was, second wave was growing in Maharashtra. The question is, why? Because the COVID appropriate behavior was being sacrificed in the eastern part of the country. The second wave was beginning from the western part of the country. Doesn't seem to have a correlation with the basic theory of crowds creating this kind of multiplication of the virus. And therefore, I ask you the question once again. Did we fail in predicting the second wave in terms of its timing as well as its magnitude? And therefore, will we fail once again if and when the third wave comes? How have we learned from the second wave?
Well, you're talking about certain events which do create a situation for virus to transmit. But remember, in states that you're referring to, obviously there was a failure on the part of us as a whole for making sure that the virus transmission doesn't go out of control. The very fact that the pandemic was raging in a few states that you are referring to means that there were chains of transmission overwhelmingly going into tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, and our containment efforts were not in tune with it. And of course, there were the situation on the ground in bazaars and in towns was not disciplined at all. So we created those situations and continue to have those situations, not just in these two states, because this ultimately was a nationwide wave. If a particular region or a population was more disciplined, it would have not entered there. The point remains that the pure dynamics of the pandemic are such that when these situations of susceptible hosts and opportunities for the virus come together, situation worsens. But remember, there was an X factor, and the X factor was that there was a variant which was smarter than the previous variant. It had a higher transmissibility. Today we understand that phenomenon much better, that yes, indeed, the Delta variant, and just before that preceded by the Alpha variant, originally found in UK, were those variants which were smarter than the classical virus, the original virus. So when that came in, the situation worsened. Let me tell you about predictions that were made by people. You see, predicting second wave, it would come around this season, it would come, has been talked about several people. Those who study flu epidemics had predicted that this is around about the time when you should be very careful. And if you time it with the waves that happened in other countries, again, this was the critical period of time in a way. But then I said, it doesn't mean it has to come. It didn't come in many, many countries. But the predictions issue is, the short point about predictions is that global predictions by very, very eminent universities, whether it is IHME or it is Michigan or it is the UK Imperial College, nobody was predicting, or our own Sutra predictions by IIT Kanpur, the much talked about predictions. Nobody was predicting a wave which would go higher than the first wave. No way. It is only in mid-April, when in any case it was becoming obvious that the prediction points would rise and rise and rise. In March, nobody said that. In the first week of April, most predictions were saying it will be a wave just about the first wave or smaller than the first wave. It is only on the 15th of April, 20th of April, and 24th of April. And by that time, anybody could see that there is a very severe growth. The short point is that we make use of the predictions to understand how the pandemic would go. But remember, no single modeling has been accurate in either predicting the first wave or the size of the first wave. You remember they were saying, 20 million deaths kind of a scenario. Those were also the predictions, and some were very short in terms of the time period, and the whole wave will come like this. So remember, no system of prediction has been so accurate to be reliable. Overall, yes, we were passing through a vulnerable phase because susceptible people were getting together. A variant comes in, we lower the guard together as a society, and then the variant strike.
So Dr. Paul, in March itself, the variant had been noticed that it was, somewhere in India. First, it began in the United Kingdom, came over to India. It mutated a bit in India as well. But between March and April, possibly the extent and the magnitude was not realized. And then we saw a situation where we reached a level of 4 lakh plus cases per day, 4,000 deaths per day being reported, not enough hospital beds, the requirement of oxygen, which was new to this wave, the complete lack of preparedness as far as oxygen availability was concerned. On the one hand, Dr. Paul, I understand when you say it's difficult to pronounce the magnitude and not to create panic. It was being gently kind of pushed. The envelope was being pushed. But the manner in which things happened really did put the Aam Aadmi on the back foot at the receiving end, where even in cities, we had no idea where to get hospital beds from, concentrators from, oxygen from. We can't even begin to imagine what the situation in small towns and rural areas would be. What are the learnings, Dr. Paul? What would we do differently today in preparation for the third wave is something that's extremely important for people to know through transparent mechanisms, because that transparency, not just panic is not the only issue. Transparency also creates a sense of confidence on how to react to it. Last time around, people were caught unawares completely. This time, how can we prepare people for the third wave?
Much better preparedness is the key. Now we have learned from the previous wave 1, we have learned many lessons. Wave 2, we learned additional lessons. What is very critical is that we should not let our guard low. And above all, I want to emphasize that our containment strategies are the key. We cannot continue to we can have life which is moving on in a reasonable way, and yet the chains of transmission are contained. One of the critical areas of further improvement is to ensure that there is contact tracing. Those who are contacts are quarantined at home and they are supported. They are not to be moving around, because some of them are carrying the virus which will catch other people. If you do that, then you are preventing maybe 50 cases to become positive, 30 cases to become positive. Likewise, there is a big lesson that making micro-containment zones and keeping people who are infected in finite localities and ensuring that the protocols are followed is a very critical element. When you do this systematically, a need for a larger restriction or a lockdown or a district level lockdown would not be needed. So I think the lesson is suppress the chains of transmission, suppress the virus when it is on the retreat. And this is exactly the point now, because now we are dealing with finite number of cases. So I think the biggest lesson is the root cause has to be always being watched, and that root cause is to contain the virus in smaller localities. By the way, it doesn't make a difference, Navika ji, whether it is variant 1 or variant 2, whether it has transmissibility 1x or 3x, because the means to control, the toolkit that we have to control remains the same. I think this is a point which must be communicated, because it's important to understand what kind of an enemy we are dealing with, what weaponry this animal has. But what is the weaponry that we have? We have only 6 ways to tackle it. Those tools are the same for Wuhan virus or the alpha variant or the beta variant or the delta variant. Your point about, yes, transparency in regard to availability of beds, etc., these are the areas on which state governments have made their efforts, municipalities have made their effort, mega city organizations, mega city systems have made their effort. This must be more intensified. We must be ready. to take an individual from home who seemingly now has a lower saturation to an appropriate location.